Indeed, it's time to care about our planet and the earth we all share. Climate Fact File has the key to build a world that is completely green and free. Climate Fact File has taken a stand to learn the truth, protect the land, deal with the rising seas, ensuring cleaner skies, clean energy, and turning darkness into light. Climate Fact File is your one-stop shop for everything climate, including environment, waste and waste disposal, indiscriminate use of plastics, activities of oil and gas companies, gas emission, pollution, land management, rising sea levels, bush burning, flooding, desertification, and more. This is a call to action as every voice matters to save the earth. It's in your hands and it's in my hands. Climate Fact File is for a brighter, greener, and a better future. Let's keep it alive. Join me, Ify Onyekwere, every Wednesday from 11 a.m. on People's 105.5 FM. Climate Fact File remains our present reality. People's 105.5 FM is all about you.
So right about now, it is time for Climate Countdown, where we move into the most urgent and impactful news around climate change. And of course, when I'm done with this, my guest will do justice to give insights on whichever of the stories actually catches his attention. UNICEF urges students to drive climate action in Katsina. World Meteorological Organization warns that climate change is fueling hunger in Africa. International Energy Agency says cutting methane emissions could slow down global warming. The United Nations Children's Fund, UNICEF, has called on students in secondary schools and higher institutions in Katsina State to develop practical solutions to climate change. Speaking at a 2-day sensitization workshop, Mrs. Stella Teva, WASH Program Officer at the UNICEF Kano Field Office, emphasized the need for youth-led climate action through tree planting, plastic waste management, and climate-related entrepreneurship. The initiative, organized in collaboration with the Ideas and Data Global Academy and the Katsina State Ministry of Environment, will also support the creation of climate action clubs in schools. The World Meteorological Organization, WMO, has warned that climate change is severely impacting Africa's socio-economic stability with floods, drought, and heat waves, deepening hunger, displacement, and insecurity. WMO Secretary General highlighted that the sea temperatures, erratic rainfalls, and extreme weather event has displaced 700 people across the continent in 2023 alone. South Sudan and Nigeria were among the hardest hit, with floods destroying millions of livestock and forcing school closures due to 45 degrees centigrade heat. The International Energy Agency, IEA, says methane emissions from fossil fuel remain dangerously high but can be reduced with existing technologies. In its 2025 Global Methane Tracker, the IEA revealed that nearly 70% of these emissions could be avoided, with many measures paying for themselves within a year. The agency says reducing leaks and flaring could have added 100 billion cubic meters of gas to the global marker in 2024. The International Energy Agency Executive Director warned that failure to act on methane is undermining both climate goals and energy security. And that's it on Climate Countdown. So back to our guests. How would you react to this news story? You're listening to the voice of Mr. Adedotun Jamiu Saka, who is actually an ESG project manager. All right, we're listening.
All right. To the first one, you said UNICEF urged students to drive climate action in Katsina. Yeah, that's really a good one, and I felt if we are to tackle climate change the way it's meant to be, then we need to focus on the younger generation. Because in the next few years, they will be the one pulling the strings when it comes to policy, media, governance, and all sorts of things like that. So it's good we are preparing their mind, and the self-awareness is more higher. so that most of the students will not be like me, that is not aware of climate change at a very tender age, even when there is lots that I can do to it. So not just that, I feel at this stage climate change should be added to some to the curriculum of especially junior high school students down to university stage, and you'll be surprised that the literacy rate and the understanding of climate change is not at the level that we can use to drive a change. The awareness is very low, and when awareness is low, the change that will come from such is going to be minimal or little. So that's it. And for the World Meteorological Organization that wants that climate change is fueling hunger in Africa, like I used to say, there's a very big link between insecurity and climate change. We have poverty as an insecurity, we have social insecurity, we have economic insecurity, we have all sorts of insecurity, and you'll be surprised that climate change can be linked to all this insecurity. Let's take for instance, looking at the herdsman and farmers clashes all this while, what has been done, even to some extent Boko Haram clashes too, what has been done is that we are investing on ammunition. Why one of the core issues causing those conflicts, when you look at it deeply, it is being caused by climate change. Because most of the elders, where they were living at the initial stage, the area are green. In the deep forest, the area are green. There's water, there's availability of water. But now, currently in the current situation, we have water scarcity, we have drought that has affected the land. And the water and the lack of water, availability of water, that is water scarcity, that affected the animals too, that they could not even drink water and feed on green area. So as a result of that, the herders are now moving away from the forest. They are now moving to where those farmers are now putting their plantation, making water available for their own crop. So there's now a clash of what I need and what the farmer has. So the herders has no choice than to feed on what the farmers has planted. Although we will say it's bad, but with the elders look at his cow dying without doing anything to salvage the situation? Absolutely no. The way the crop is so dear to the farmer, that's how the animal is so dear to the elders. So as a result of that, the farmers could not farm again due to the threat from elders. The elders too could not survive. They could not put their animal in the best shape because of lack of due to water scarcity and drought and all sorts of things like that. So that's it.
Great. All right. I actually, before I actually started this show, today, there was a conversation from my colleague before, I actually came in about, I'm going to link it to the first story. We talked about UNICEF, and then you highlighted something on, sensitization that could actually drive massive awareness, from even the tender age, about a 19-year-old who actually took her life because she did not, pass her jam. She actually got 190 in her jam, and then she took. I don't know if you heard about that story.
Yeah, I read about it this morning.
Yeah, I believe that we need to start encouraging people that from wherever you are, you're not a failure, and the climate space is big enough for everyone. I've had guests come here who are turning waste into treasure, not because it was on their certificate that they need to do one of two things. Yeah, but if you are creative, I feel like we need to also start pushing that narrative that regardless of where you are, whatever you're doing, even schools can be pushing this to their students. Regardless of what you're doing, the climate space is big enough for everyone. You can pick up something, start doing something, look up the internet, what's going on, one or two things, and don't see yourself as a failure, especially for those who did not do so well in this jam. What do you think about that?
Yeah, like I used to say, and just the way you've echoed that the fact that the climate space is so big to do so many things, and I feel also the government are not doing enough in the awareness part. Although NGO, even looking at the awareness that has been in climate change, most of it has been carried out by individuals and NGOs. And individuals that are passionate about climate change. So I just feel government should invest more in the area of awareness, and that's why I've said it earlier. Climate change as a cause should be introduced, not just as a cause on its own, but probably as a topic or GNS courses in various aspects of our academic work of life. And also, little is being said about climate entrepreneurs. There are a lot of things that you can you can come up with as an entrepreneur in climate change. I've heard of products that they are doing well in the market, and the product design is as a result of climate change. You see solar freezers, you see recyclable tires being turned into a brick that is used for construction. You see solar and renewable energy being sold. You see office building now being built with having climate resilience in mind. Such office building are not using generators, they are not even using grid, but they are using solar and renewable energy. So stuff like this, they are now bringing new entrepreneurship, new money, new growth, new economic development into the country. And I think Africa at large can also look into that area. I'll give you an hint. In Africa currently, we have almost 60% or so, especially West Africa. We have 60% of the Sahara Desert in West Africa. And I will tell you, the entire size of the Sahara Desert, we only need 3.8% to power the entire world when we put solar energy in it. Let me come again. We need 3.8% of the Sahara Desert to power the entire world.
Wow.
With just solar panel. So if you look into that area, and yet in Africa we don't even have stable power supply. But at the backyard of Africa, we have a Sahara Desert that can be converted into a climate resources that is going to even light up the entire Africa, bring in new technology, makes people more employable, makes people more productive, and the entrepreneurship spirit in them is going to ignite and also power the economic development of Africa. So that's it. Thank you.
There's a lot of work to be done. Thank you so much. All right about now, we'll go on a short break, and when we'll come back, we'll go right into the conversation for today.
The climate is changing, and so should we. Climate Fact File, the weekly dose of awareness, action, and answers. Wednesday, 11 a.m. on your favorite radio station, People's 105.5 FM, Abuja.
Lights, camera, action. In a world where
your guide to the science, stories, and solutions of climate change. Join Climate Fact File and be part of the change every Wednesday from 11 a.m. on the People's 105.5 FM, Abuja.
Welcome back. You're listening to People's 105.5 FM Abuja. It's all about you. And this is Climate Fact File. We're having a conversation around traditional survival, how indigenous communities adopt climate shocks. And of course, we have an amazing guest in the studio who's doing justice to everything we're going to be discussing in the studio today, Adedotun Jamiu Saka, who is an ESG project manager. So let's go straight into this topic. Now, to start off, how do indigenous communities, the ones you've worked with, understand and explain climate change in their own words or beliefs? Would love to hear this.
Okay, thank you for the important question. For my work and like I said earlier, during my final year in the university, we were tasked with some projects that were split into groups. So we have to go to some various communities to carry out that project, enlighten them, and depend on the group you had then. So the group that I spearheaded, it was created by me, and I was the leader of the group then. So the group was named Child Empowerment Program. So we educated them. So while doing that, we came in contact with the indigenous people, and stuff like that. So for my work and conversation with the indigenous community across Nigeria, it is clear that many local people have long observed signs of environmental change, even before the term climate change became common.
So they first experienced,
they
first observed.
They've observed, because most of them, when you tell them, they will be like, I don't know. Probably if there are people that understand Yoruba here. So we said, rain don't come in his own time. Even the sun is not predictable again. And in the oldest days, they believed all those things are predictable. When you wake up by night, you are expected to see the sun, the morning sun. Once it's 1 o'clock, you are expected to see the sun proper. But now things are changing, and like I said earlier, most of them, they attach it more to their spiritual gods. They attach it to spirituality and stuff like that. But they are aware that their environment is not what it used to be again. Some of them, we said when they planted their yam, that their yam is always fat and big and stuff like that. But now that they don't know that it's the vitamin, the lack of excessive rain that was falling, that was their land was absorbing. That was also bringing about those rich nutrients that the yam is able to absorb and give them good output. But they are saying their land is not fertile again, that they need to appease the gods and all sorts of things like that. So although they are aware, they are aware that the environment is changing, but the knowledge is not there. I don't know if you get my point.
Yes,
the knowledge is not there. You see, for instance, in the farming communities in northern Nigeria, elders will speak about rainy season, and now rainy season is starting earlier, at times later. Even at a point, I think this year, based on the information that was released by is it NICET or a federal government agency that's in charge of weather, and NIMET, God bless you, NIMET. So an information that was released by them, they said we'll be having 2 raining seasons. So we'll be having the first one that will be shorter, and we'll be having the one that will look like the season is going and the rain will also come back again. So like before that, we usually have one rain one corn season. You are likely to have 2 corn seasons this year. I don't know if you get my point.
Yes, I do.
Even you, when you start noticing at a point, usually when we're growing up, we can predict when mango is going to come out, where cherry is going to come out.
Right?
Yes. But now you just be walking on the road and you just see mango. You be like, how come? Even towards December, you still see corn, fresh corn. You'll be like, how come? Where are they getting this fresh corn? But deep inside, on your way home, you see that the rain has started, even in November, December. Then that answers your question. That what used to be a dry season has now become a raining season. So these indigenous people are aware. For instance, you see among Yoruba, their belief is that when the land is angry due to deforestation or neglect, it responds with hardship, that's poor harvest, diseases, and erratic weather. So they believe that probably due to some attached to our sins, our activity, bad governance, what is not there before. You even see some community, they will not allow you to dress improperly because they believe it's the way you dress. That is why the gods are angry and the weather is changing. I don't know if you get my point.
Yeah, I get you.
So the knowledge is there. The
awareness.
The awareness is there, but a deep knowledge is not there. I don't know if you get my point.
Yes.
They are able to translate it to their own meaning, but they know that something is happening within the space of their environment and the climate. But they could not have adequate linkage to what is currently happening. Although when you engage some of them that they are knowledgeable, that they afford the opportunity to send their words to university, their words to come back and tell them that this thing that you call that the gods are angry, the gods are doing this, that when it's changed some certain way that you behave, then probably the environment will also react in certain way and the environment will bless you. And you go to some communities too, their rivers are drying up. Their rivers are drying up, that they now have a kind of timetable that probably this season you don't go to this river again, this season don't go to this river again.
Yes.
There was even a friend that I was having a conversation with a indigenous man in Malete, Kwara State. The man said there are some animals that when they were growing up, that they usually keep the animal during hunt game. But now you can't even find the animal again. So I told him that it's climate change. He said it's a lie, that the gods were angry because something happened. I don't know if you get my point.
Yes, I do.
Traditional superstition. So I think that's their own understanding of climate change. But I want to assure you that they are aware. They understand the impact that their environment is changing, but there's a kind of break or lack of linkage between that understanding, that awareness, and having a kind of civilized knowledge to back.
Trying to, because I'm trying to come from their own perspective too, because if this set of people really have signs, or forecasting methods that still work today. It might be difficult, to pass that knowledge about the scientific, means or ways. So that brings me to my next question, So are there some traditional warning signs or, weather forecasting methods that, these indigenous people use to anticipate climate shift? And is it something that is still accurate today?
Although the question that is accurate today, I will answer that based on the first question. I read in an article that the Hausa Fulani in the northern Nigeria, they attached, like how will I put it? They attach the arrival of certain birds. They call the bird Kunama bird. I don't know if I get it right. They call it Kunama bird. That once the bird arrive, then is close to rainy season and they can start planting. So when they start seeing the bird around, they will start planting. You see the Yorubas too. This locust beans tree. Whenever the locust beans tree is getting green, they believe that this is the right time to start planting. That the land is fertile. The rain has been abundant, so we need to start planting adequately so that we can meet the rainy season section. You can see these are the signs that they are putting in place. And also, when you go to the Niger Delta region, where mostly they are into fishing and coastal business like that, you see that at times they will predict the way the tide of the ocean, probably the wave of the ocean or the water. They can predict that it's close to the rainy season, the water level, where they can get to in the river or the water body before they can't get there again. They'll be like, the water body is now high, the tide is now high, the wave is now much. So that way they are predicting and they are, to some extent, is accurate and it has been working for them. But lately, they are trying, I don't know how to put it, they have been trying to transfer that knowledge to their words, but there's a lack of stability in that prediction again. Most of those birds that signal them, it will be in some parts. I don't know if you get my point.
Yes.
The birds will be in some part of the community. It will not be in another part of the community. Even we can use this, you see the Muslim during Ramadan, they will say they see the moon in certain place and they've not seen it in certain country. So these are signs that climate are changing. Why are you going to see a moon in certain country and you not see it? And when you look at those days that there's not even internet, there's no phone, it's almost that they're able to even see the moon at the same time and they're able to even connect at the same time. So what happened now that there's now a kind of connection, but yet things are not changing in terms of climate and the environment. So that's it.
Amazing. All right. We'd love to hear from the audience. I'm going to open the phone lines right now. I have two questions here for you if you're listening to me. This is Climate Fact File. And of course, we're discussing how indigenous communities are adapting to climate shocks, right? We're looking at how communities are, adapting to climate shocks. Now, the first question is, do you or your family have a traditional way of predicting the weather, like signs from animals, trees, skies? Tell us about it. I was saying something the other day about how a woman I met on the road just looked up. It wasn't even like there was going to be rain, but I don't know what she saw, but she said it was going to rain, and truly it rained. So it was quite amazing to me. But do you or your family have a traditional way of predicting the weather, like signs from animals like trees, skies? Tell us about it. Now, the second question is, do you believe traditional ways can help us survive the impact of climate change today? Why or why not? Do you believe that traditional ways can actually help us survive the impact of climate change today? Why or why not? You can actually join this conversation by calling the number 0911-112-1055. I call that again, 0911-112-1055. And you can also call us on 0704-800-1055. I call that again, 0704-800-1055. Now the question is, do you or your family have a traditional way of predicting the weather? Like signs from the skies, the trees, animals? Tell us about it. And do you believe traditional ways can help us survive the impact of climate change today? Why or why not? Having this conversation with Mr. Adedotun Jamiu Saka, who is an ESG project manager. And of course, because the climate is changing, and that's why we are having this conversation. All right, let's continue our conversation now. Mr. Adedotun, can you actually share specific examples of, traditional practices that have helped communities, survive extreme weather? Let's even look at extreme heat. Are there specific examples of indigenous practices that have helped communities survive extreme weather?
Okay. I would say I will just say a past experience and we'll come back to the question again. Then going to school, whenever we wake up during the rainy season, we are going to see that rain at times. I don't know if you are experiencing that rain again, but in Lagos then we used to experience 7 days rain. It's going to rain completely for 7 days.
Yeah, I think so, that was actually a thing. Yes. Yeah,
but I think it's not something that happens frequently again, if I'm not mistaken. That was 1. 2, I remember going to school then. There's a bed. That bed in that particular area that we were staying in Lagos, because we own a family house there. So whenever I visit it, I don't notice that bed again. That bed will come. I've never seen that bed before. I can't even describe it, but I will hear the voice. Like the bird will be like, that's the sound the bird will give. So my grandma will say, Adotun, go and take your raincoat. It's going to rain today.
Wow.
And believe me, if that bed, whenever that bed sounds that way, no matter how, it might rain that morning, afternoon, or night. It will not miss it. So these are friends. And with that sound, I will just go inside, pick my raincoat, put it in my school bag. So whenever I'm coming home, either the rain has fell, or the rain is already start drizzling, or probably when I get home or at night, but don't expect it to rain that day.
Wow.
Even no matter how small it is. So now this is it now. If those signs are there as an indigenous knowledge, look at how my grandma is able to pass that knowledge to me.
That's right.
So even at times when I hear that sound, I will tell my colleague that, look at this sound, this bird that I don't know the bird, I've not seen the bird before. But this sound is familiar. And whenever it sounds like this, it's going to rain. No matter how worse it is, it's going to rain the following day. At times people will be like, Doctor, and it's true. How do you know? I'll say it was my grandma who transferred
that knowledge. Wow.
Yes. So, and also I've read about Zai pit. Zai pit is what the northern people use to avoid drought, and they will pour a kind of hole. They will pour a kind of hole. They will put all sorts of organic matter inside that hole. You know organic matter that I mean? It could be their poo, it could be animal waste, it could be all sorts of waste. They put it there, and also because it's a pit, water is likely to come. Like when it's raining, that place water is likely to fill it up, and the nutrient base in that pit is going to be high. So who is going to make their life fertile? And also I've lived in a community before. We went there for a project. Those communities they barely use toilets, and it's a university area. I would not like to mention that area. So it's a university-based area. Most of the community they don't use toilets. They prefer to go to the bush and go and defecate there. So one day I asked one of them, I said, why? He said first that they believe that what is toilet doing inside your house? That is a waste.
Is this community in Nigeria? Is this community
in Nigeria? Yeah, it's in Nigeria. The north central part of Nigeria. So they said, what is toilet doing in your
building?
Vicinity,
yeah.
In your building, that is due to that toilet that we see all kind of diseases, cholera, that we should look at them that they are always LD. Wow. So I said, what's the other option? They said they will have to go to the bush to go and defecate there. That they defecate in the bush because their organic is going to later fertilize that land, and in the next 1 or 2 years, whatever they plant there is going to germinate and it's going to give them the best result. So you can see that aspect too. And also you see mud houses, no matter the heat, like to answer your question for the heat wave, if you have entered a mud house before, even when there is heat, there's a kind of cold that you feel inside that mud house. So, and up till now, with the type of this is an indigenous knowledge. With our engineering-based university, I expect that they should be able to incorporate brick building into urban cities, whereby when you build this house, this brick mud houses, you'll be able to at least incorporate into normal.
Okay. Are you still there?
Hello.
Okay. Yes.
So that up to now, I've been expecting that they should be able to have incorporated that mud kind of structure building into urban and city area, so that building can also benefit from such indigenous knowledge. So that's the type.
Amazing. It's actually very strange. So some of the things that the people before us, that's the grandparents and all, the kind of knowledge they actually have that are going into extinction too, but thank God that some of them are able to pass some of this knowledge to us. And if you ask, why are you no longer, because someone might be listening and wondering, okay, why do you think the bird is no longer there? It's because we're beginning to cut the trees down, the trees that were like the the homes of these these animals are being cut down, and they no longer find security in those places, and they begin to go far away, or they even die, and those species might actually be very rare, right? And so that's why we're canvassing for climate justice. As we're having conversations like this, it affects every one of us. We're just talking about this one aspect of it, but it is so broad and there are so many knowledge out there. You can also contribute to this conversation. Do you or your family? It's very interesting. Like, I never knew about this until Mr. Adedotun actually mentioned it, saying you have some birds who would actually make some noise, and it actually shows that rain would actually fall, and then it really falls, just like that woman I met some days back. I don't know what she saw in the sky, but she said it was going to rain, and it never looked as though it was going to rain because the sun was still shining. So there's just so much of this knowledge out there that I believe that if science and traditional knowledge actually comes together, there might just be an expansion, in this drive for climate justice that we're actually pushing towards. So, do you or your family have a traditional way of predicting the weather? I would love to hear from you. I just found out something new today, and I think I need to pay attention to some of these birds right now, because it looks like it's been raining recently. So you could share some of these signs with us, tell us about it, and do you believe traditional ways can help us survive the impact of climate change today? Why or why not? The number is 0911 112 1055. 0911 112 1055, and you can also reach us on 0704 8001055. All right, so let's actually go down to the conversations we've been having now. Have you noticed the loss of apart from this you actually mentioned, is there any specific traditional knowledge that has been lost due to displacement or modernization, and how does this affect the ability that's the ability of the indigenous people to cope with climate change?
Okay. Yes, you see that some knowledge has been lost, some have been displaced, and some has also been modernized. But I will just mention, we can't talk based on a general factor. We only talk based on the knowledge that we have access to. So one of the traditional knowledge that I noticed that has lost is the building of mud houses. Even when you go to rural area, they barely build mud houses again. But civilization are getting to that part of that place. And when you look at building these brick houses too, it's not climate resilient enough. Can I
actually ask a question? So you mentioned mud houses and then you mentioned brick houses. Do they have the same effect?
No, they have different effects.
Okay.
The brick house at the contemporary house, just like your office space, that are the brick houses. But you see the mud houses, they are like red sand, made from red sand. You see them in the rural environment. It just red earth. Even their roof is not even pan. They use earth. They use this dry leaf as their roof. And I don't think if you've entered that house before, when you sleep in such house, you feel this kind of you are being detached from the reality that is happening outside that house, like the scorching sun, even when it's raining heavily and it's cold, you feel this kind of warm temperature inside. If the sun is so much, you can feel this kind of cold kind of. I don't know if you get my point. That's what you feel inside such mud houses. So and what I feel so far is that such traditional knowledge, if care is not taken, it's going to be displaced. Because even when you visit rural communities, what they are now using now is brick rather than mud. What they are using now is brick houses rather than mud, and these things are going. And also the issue of insecurity, the elders displacing the farmers due to climate change has make people, probably those younger ones among them, they find their way to the city. And you see the farming culture, intercropping planting, saving of water technology. While growing up, whenever I visit our village, you see a big mud drum that is being placed where they've directed the rainwater. And that mud water, the water that entered that mud drum is being used to cook. But you see stuff like that don't occur again. They would rather go to the ocean, they would rather go to the bowl. They will even look for money to bowl. Even at a point, one of my uncles served at Bayelsa. He said on the roof of their house, they are going to do a kind of technology there, whereby when it's raining, the water will be directed into a small reservoir in their compound. So during rainy season, they are able to use the water, and after rainy season, when the rain is not there again, they are using the water. Now the question is, when you start seeing new buildings in Bayelsa, when you start going to the village, seeing some buildings, this knowledge are not there again. Even those that they are meant to transfer the knowledge to, they've been displaced due to the farmers and other clashes, due to all sorts of insecurity. And the younger generation that is meant to be the new custodian of the knowledge, they've migrated to the urban center to look for a white collar job and start a proper life there.
Thank you so much. All right, I want us to go on a music break right now, and when we come back, we'll continue this conversation. Let's look at the solutions to this. We've looked at the challenge before us. We looked at what the indigenous people are doing, and we've looked at some of the things that actually guide their discussions. But right now, when we go on this break and we return, we'll be looking at the solutions.
The land is green, it's green, oh, oh. The land is green, it's green, can't you see? I can see all the harvest is ready, 'cause he told me so. It's green and it's all mine. As the clouds go gray, the thunder roars and the earth sings. The season's just beginning. Sunlight it hides as the clouds make way for the pouring of my blessings. I will not be afraid. I see it now, I understand, I know. So I embrace it, dance. In the rain, it's for my seed to grow. For every prayer and every seed I've sown, Lord of the harvest knows I'm reaping back 100-fold. The land is green, it's green, oh, oh. The land is green, it's green, can't you see? The harvest is ready, 'cause the Lord of the harvest told me so. It's green for me. It's green for me. Standing alone can be a heavy load, but my vows I won't be breaking. Though my heart is aching, I got a word and I won't let go. It's your will I'm seeking, so I keep on believing. I see it now, I understand, I know. So I embrace it, dance. Once again, it's time for me to grow. For every prayer and every tear I've sown, Lord of the harvest knows I'm reaping joy 100-fold. beautiful. The land is green, it's green. Oh, oh. The land is green, it's green. Can't you see? The harvest is ready, 'cause the Lord of the harvest told me so. It's green for me. I thought it was over, thought you were done with me. But we're just beginning, whoa, my life is a journey. I will walk with you, I will go where you want me to, yes, I will go.
Come on.
You told me that the land is green. Hey, yeah. It's green. Oh, oh. The land is green. It's green. Can't you see? The land is green. It's green.
All right, so that was The Land is Green, and that is what we are canvassing for, a green land. And of course, we have an amazing guest in the studio, Mr. Adedotun Jamiu Saka, and we are discussing traditional survival, how indigenous communities adapt to climate shocks. All right, so I think it's time for us to go to the solutions on the issue at ground, yeah? Now, so Mr. Adedotun, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
All right. So, would you say the government or development organizations actually consult or include indigenous people when creating climate adaptation policies? And is this a problem? Do you think it's something that is being done? And if not, why?
Yeah. Once again, thank you for having me on the program. I know we are moving towards the end of the program, and it's nice to be here. And thanks for the opportunity for this. Having me to share my wonderful insights.
Welcome.
So the indigenous people are not being included in government programs. Even a lot of NGOs, they only come with initiative and they just force it down on the indigenous people to implement. Looking at policies, most of all these policies, you see COP20, climate change conference, this conference, United Nations, this African Union, this. The question is, how many indigenous people are even there when these policies are made? Even when those policies are made, how many of those policies have been translated to indigenous language so that the indigenous people can know that these policies are being made for us? Even these policies have been made in the capital cities. They have been made in the capital city. For instance, if they have to make policy for indigenous people in Ibadan, in Oyo State, for instance, the policy will be made in Ibadan, whereby those that the policy are targeted towards, they are living in the far rural area. Go about going there to go and meet them, demand their input, demand community meeting with them, demand their input, demand input from them. That way, they will be part and parcel of that community and that policy, and the implementation of that policy will be easy. Now, let me give you, for instance, you see some, or how am I going to? Okay, there's a particular policy on animal husbandry by the federal government. Are you with me?
Yes.
So, federal government wanted to increase the meat productivity in Nigeria. So they now shared 2 female goats and 1 male goat to rural dwellers, especially indigenous people in Kwara State that I know of. I don't know if they in other states.
I did not receive, so probably it didn't happen in Abuja.
It didn't happen in Abuja. So they went to the rural area in Kwara State. That was 3 to 4 years ago. They shared 3 goats with them per each household. So now this is my question. This is the problem. So when I met with one of the community guy, the indigenous guy that is a friend to me, I relate with him and all that. So some of them are already selling the goats, some are killing it. I said, why are you guys selling these goats? He said the goats are not meant for their climate and for their society, that the goats get sick easily.
Oh.
And they've lost most of them. Now, for federal government have made a wonderful policy. But if that they've seek their knowledge, they seek their own understanding of their own environment.
Yes.
It will have guided federal government, and they'll be like, oh, these are the type of goats that are suitable for our environment, and federal government will have provided them. And that type of policy will have scaled up. And the amount of meat we have in our society, the cost of meat will have reduced as a result of that. Federal government has made a good policy, the indigenous people have accepted the policy, but the policy is not designed to suit their own environment. There are a lot of climate policy that is like that too. So that way is not going to work. There are some trees, for instance, that is a taboo in some community. And whenever you are trying to plant trees around, you end up planting such tree in such community. They'll just carve out that tree. Probably after you've left, they'll cut the tree away because they don't believe in the tree. They don't believe in stuff like that. I'll also give you a narrative. There's a particular NGO that received a grant that they should go and provide water for communities that has water scarcity. Are you with me?
Yes.
So they now said they will bore a borehole for the community. So the location that they now started for the borehole, the community now revolted that they don't want the borehole again, that they don't even want their program, that they will be going as far as 10 kilometers to go and fetch their water, that they don't want their borehole again.
Wow.
So the NGO in their initiative now said, oh, can we meet some of your community leaders? It was the youth that was against it and all that. So they met with the community leaders. The community leader now said, do you know that this river that is situated in 10 kilometers away, it is when we send our children to the river, that is when we have adult talk with our wife.
Oh.
Yes. That's when we have adult talk with our wife. That's when we have matured meeting with our wife. Now, by the time those children will go to the river 10 times a day, we are through with whatever we want to do. Even if the women in the community, they want to have some discussion. You know, children can be very disturbing, their noises and all that. It is during that time that they send the kids to the river that they are going to have their discussion and the meeting will become fruitful. If they want to meet with their wife and their husband, that's the time that they use, and they have to be so silent. They have all the day to themselves. So by the time the children return by evening, the children are already tired, and they too are tired. They fulfill their own wish. Wow. Now you are not telling the next generation that is now meant to enjoy such benefits, that you want the borehole to be born in the city. Then what time are they going to have for themselves? So if you want such borehole to be realistic, it's better you go and bore the borehole at the back end of the village.
Yeah. Thank you.
So that way we'll be able to enjoy it. So thank you. And
this is actually, like, if you're working with an NGO and you just heard that last point, it is profound. I think NGOs and even the government need to really take this at heart, because what's the essence of developing policies, and then the people that are supposed to be impacted by this are revolting against it. So even the indigenous communities need to be carried along with their own understanding with what they actually have on ground, to ensure that whatever policy is being made or whatever act is being implemented, everyone is carried along in a very cool way. All right, let's continue this conversation on X. That's Twitter. I am at Ify Inspires on X. Let's continue this conversation right there. Thank you so much for my amazing guests. It's just a whole lot. Thank you so much. I think we need to continue this conversation some other time. I need to go off right now. And I really want to thank the executive producer of this show, Charles Kalu. And I really want to thank Mr. Hyacinth Akpan also, who is a co-producer. Thank you so much for this wonderful show today. And remember, if you're listening, climate change is not just a future challenge. It's a present reality, and each of us has a role to play in shaping a more sustainable future. And our actions today, whatever way it may be in, little action leads to big changes tomorrow. So let's take what we've learned and apply it to our daily lives. Until next time, join me for Climate Fact File here on People's 105.5 FM Abuja. I am Ify Onyekwere. Have a great afternoon.